What up? You done with OPP? What? You never heard of OPP? Well, I should explain. OPP stands for Other People's Parts, and that's kind of the story with this particular train set. As we can see from the pictures above, this is known as Lionel's Army Hospital train set. It's done in HO scale, and it's meant to take the company in a different direction of more patriotic train sets. Although, as we'll see, it really isn't so much an original idea as it is, well, OPP. The locomotive comes from Lionel's own HO Santa Fe Overland Express, and the coaches come from Model Power, who Lionel essentially bought out a few years back.
The train set has a lot of the usual conventional components Lionel offers. Here we have a Lionel Chief Controller, which is Bluetooth and allows you to operate the train from anywhere, although this set can also run on actual DCC as well. It has a DCC decoder built into the engine, which is a nice touch.
This set will also respond to voice commands via the Lionel Chief app.
The locomotive, as I said before, is in fact a Berkshire. Let me go ahead and get it out for you to give you a better look at it. Kind of a long engine for, again, a starter to have, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4 main driving wheels, and of course the additional 4 in the back here. A real nuisance to derail and keep going. I also find that this particular engine is very sensitive to tight turns, so much so that I really don't run these on my layout much, and I've actually sold a few of them off that came with the sets. I've kept the coaches and cars they've come with, but these engines proved just too big for my layout. Now, here is the first of the United States hospital cars, Army hospital cars. And while things look familiar, they have been clearly upgraded. Now, if you remember, the original model from Model Power had, just like this one, the couplers attached to the trucks, the old truck-mounted couplers. Not too outrageous considering that all of Lionel's trains as of late have had their couplers truck-mounted. The thing that's unique is, as you can see by the light glancing off the wheels, is that these are in fact metal wheels. So it should mean these will hold the rails much better, which was a chronic problem with the old Model Power equipment, as it didn't have much weight to it and tended to jump the tracks.
I must say, these coaches still appear to be very light.
And again, you get 3 of them here. Here's another one. Not much to be said here. Couplers are, again, sprung knuckle couplers, I should say, which is a nice touch. As everyone knows, I have a huge pet peeve on the plastic ABS sprung couplers, as they tend to lose grip, especially going up steep grades, and my layout, the Whitestone line, definitely has plenty of those. Here's another one. I also find, strangely enough, that these truck-mounted knuckles have a better time going around tight turns. For some reason, they don't disconnect as easy. There are some little upgrades. I don't believe this little vent on the top was added. And I also don't believe the furniture was quite as well defined inside here. We also note that unlike the other cars, these do not have the silhouettes in the window. Again, because they have the furniture. I don't believe these are lit either. We'll find out in a bit. Also, an interesting omission is that there is no observation car. There was an observation version of this coach available from Model Power. For whatever reason, Lionel didn't think to include it here. Again, if it isn't obvious already, this is HO scale. And it's supposed to be compatible with most HO scale layouts. The track radius on these trains is 20 inches. I'll show that to you now. There isn't too much to see here, to be honest. It's exactly the same as you would get with any other Lionel train set. Anyone else I've reviewed? As you can see, we have the track. It's the new Magnematic style track, which again locks together for storage as such with magnets. But then if you want to put it together, it literally just goes in like that. It tracks itself. There's no snap to hold it in place. The catch with this track is, however, as I have demonstrated over and over again, if the train comes to a sudden jerk, it can separate the track suddenly or slightly separate it like that, causing the train to jump the track more if it hasn't already derailed, and leading to more serious issues, not to mention high blood pressure and possibly yelling and screaming in choice adjectives. So the fact of the matter is, it's not the greatest thing since sliced bread. Nonetheless, I do have to say it is pretty nifty. I never get tired of doing that, just snapping them both together. Take that, Bachman. You get enough to make the usual loop with this particular train set. You also get an instruction manual and the usual the usual power pack to make everything work. Again, this plugs directly into the tracks itself, so you can't use these tracks as standard DC tracks or even connect them to a DCC system because the plug is custom to this particular design. It literally plugs directly into the AC adapter. And again, the controls are mounted strictly in the Lionel Chief, which operates on a Bluetooth basis and requires actual batteries to function. I don't believe this comes with any. At one point it did. We also note in the box there's an unusual omission here from the other train set that was marketed by the company, the Polar Express, for an ornament that goes in the middle right here, showing how much, again, platform engineering is being applied. Now, normally I would set this layout up in my room and just show you how it runs and demonstrate how the tracks cause issues, but that's pretty much been done so many times on this channel I've lost count. So I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. And you guessed it, I'm going to be testing this train, as I mentioned or kind of hinted at before, on the actual Whitestone line layout. A couple things I need to do before I get this ready. Because I'm not operating Bluetooth, I have to change a few settings here. It's currently set up to have the remote. Actually, it is set actually wrong, as you see. It was set to remote. I'm going to change this now to track, this little switch on the top. This will mean that the control comes through the DCC system, not the actual included Lionel Chief remote. It's simple, just flip the switch back, and just like that, it is now a DCC system-equipped locomotive.
One minor note here, please ensure your track power is off before you rerail and or connect the tender to the locomotive, as this can cause damage and or cause you damage.
Here's another one of the weird quirks about the steam system. The chugging is actually made, and or chuffing is actually made as the car is moved back and forth through a sensor. And at higher speeds, as I've commented in the past, it sounds more like a tractor trailer going down the line. Anyway, let's go ahead now and connect these two lines up. And there it is, all done up. This little plug has to go again into the tender. Bit of a pain to get in there. My advice is to make sure this is firmly inserted, because if it's not, it will not run correctly. Pardon the rough camera work. But there it is, it's in place. Now I'm all set to put this on the track and see how she runs. For the uninitiated, the cars join together as follows. Simply press them together, and the couplers will engage automatically like so. Now with all that done, let's give this thing a try and see how it works. Turning the layout power back on. Okay, all of my technical faults now resolved. It's time now to give this thing a run and see how it works. Now note again, on any DCC train set, locomotive, etc. that has been set up on the track for the first time, it's going to default to an address of 3, because that's what the DCC specifications say it should happen. So let's go and select 3 for this particular locomotive. I'm going to do that right now on my DigiTrax controller. I just typed in 3, hit loco again to lock it in place. And now I should have control, so let's try the horn, the whistle. There we go, yep, I have control. Put the headlight on, which is already on. Interesting. Okay, and let's give this thing a try. For those of you wondering if I'm a little crazy trying this on the admittedly tight turns of the Whitestone line, as many of you know it is, and have criticized my track work, first of all, let me set the record straight. My switches are in fact high-quality Atlas switches. There are 1 or 2 model powers left which I'm phasing out, but they're mostly high-quality Atlas switches, A. And B, the outer track is nickel-silver at 22 inches. This train set includes 20-inch track. So it's actually better than what you get in the train set track. And that track, I note, is actually kind of sharp for this particular engine, because having anything with this many drive wheels on that kind of radius that is not at least 22 inches is not a good idea. So anyway, let's give this a try. First pull. Let me make sure I cleared my main line. Ooh, it seems like it jammed up there. That's interesting. Ooh, that's not good. It appears the engine jammed right there. That's strange. Let's go forward again. No, forward, not backward. Not sure what the problem was. Oh, there it goes again. It's caught on my switch. For God's sakes, this thing. I don't know why it's caught there. It just won't... No, it's actually... No, it's basically jammed. The drive is jammed on it. You gotta be kidding me. Ugh. Yeah, they don't make a Lionel like they used to. The drivetrain is literally jamming up. There we go. Now it's moving. Oh. And it jumped the track. Yeah, not very promising so far. Again, I know people criticize my track work, but this is the engine doing it right out of the box. And I have to say, there's some quality control problems. Oh, there it goes again. Now it's going backwards. I didn't order that. Hold on 1 second here, folks. The sound is also cut out. It's running backwards now. But it's not responding to any commands. I have 0 throttle on it. It's picking up speed. Oh, my DCC system's fan kicked in. That's not good. Okay, so that is not good. Let me check to see what's going on here. Somehow I don't think you'd call this a feature. I went around, I just got it to run, and then suddenly I derailed again, and sure enough, this wheel popped off. I also note the wheels on the locomotive keep jumping the track as well. And not a good start, Lionel. Not a good start. Oh, there it goes. It's out again. Ugh. Okay, hopefully I'm not jinxing myself by putting the camera back on. This engine seems to run for a few seconds fine, and then it just jams. I don't know what's going on. The drivetrain literally jams, and then it just suddenly starts working again. It's really not a high-quality set. It's coming past right now. The bell is also going on by itself for some strange reason. The coaches, as you see, are not lit, which explains why it doesn't have the silhouettes in them. But it finds every possible chance to stall and basically break down on me. So not exactly a great start to this set at all. Right now it's running. Fingers crossed it doesn't stall. It keeps breaking down at weird points, like the drive shaft keeps breaking on it. Or jamming, I should say. The running gear keeps jamming. So I'm going to let it run right now gently. I'm going to pick up some speed now and see if it's able to handle it. Turn my bell off because I'm getting tired of listening to that. I didn't even have the bell on. Yeah, the quality control sucks on this. Oh shoot!
And yes, that is the equivalent of a horror show from model railroaders. The train literally hit the concrete floor after falling off my board when the troublesome locomotive's guide wheels fell off the track.
Okay, this locomotive is many things. One of them is not happy. It's finding every chance to come off the tracks. The coaches are built to a really bad standard. I'm not exactly impressed here. See, there it is again. It can't even go over a joint of a track basically without derailing. So yeah, summing this up, I'm not impressed at all. And the quality here is pretty bad. Essentially all Lionel appears to have done is taken the old model power coaches and installed metal wheels on them and said, here, new train set, enjoy. They probably took advantage of people like myself who like patriotic train sets as well, because let's face it, there aren't so many of those being built these days. And what better company to buy it from than Lionel? Unfortunately, it appears very clearly that was the trick to getting people to buy this thing. I'm not exactly thrilled with the way it works, to put it mildly, and I'm starting to really regret my purchase.
I still cannot believe Lionel had the nerve to do this, take a bunch of parts, in this case coaches made by the former model power company which they bought out, do a very minor alteration including a cheap set of metal wheels which were improperly installed and very poorly mounted and subject to coming loose, and then of course touch the bodies of these coaches up with some minor paint changes and call it a new product. At the same time failing to do a thing about the lack of weight that made these coaches so difficult to keep on the tracks to start with. And even the locomotive that is the highest quality part of this set failed to perform correctly in my case, with the running gear constantly jamming up, causing the engine to stall at weird points, and the engine itself finding every chance to derail via its front guide wheels. And yes, while I was finally able to get the coaches themselves to make it around my layout without derailing, well, sort of, this is only accomplished after a lot of bodging and messing with the wheels, having to refit them a few times and open the holes and modify them so the wheels would sit perfectly straight in their slots. This is a major and highly annoying defect that a company like Lionel should have caught before this set made it onto store shelves, but very clearly care was not taken. And in case anyone's wondering, that is in fact a new acquisition and slash project, I should say, that I recently completed. It's a Metro North B23-7 made by Atlas. It's an old stock locomotive which I recently picked up and installed a TCS WOW kit with Keep Alive in place. And while the coaches are running along well here, this was not the case a few minutes ago. I dare not increase the throttle any higher than it is already, as I fear it would cause the coaches to think they were frisbees and go flying off the track. And don't think because these coaches are so cheap that Lionel simply passed the savings on to you. Far from it. And no, unfortunately, you're not seeing things. The price is in fact $389. That's just about $50 off what you would pay for something like the Overland Limited, the New York Central Limited, or one of the 2 Christmas special type HO scale train sets that Lionel makes in its HO scale line. Not much of a savings and clearly not worth it.
What we have here is yet another attempt to take old parts and make them look new again by simply giving them a minor overhaul. In this case, put metal wheels on the coaches and call them all new. Nothing can hide the fact that these are just as unreliable here as they were before. The metal wheels don't do much for them. The lack of lighting doesn't do anything for them either. All previous Lionel train sets from the HO scale line, as of most recent I should say, have been equipped with lighting. The locomotive is definitely not much of an enhancement. In fact, if anything, it looks like a step back. It could be quality control issues on this particular model. Admittedly, this has been sitting in storage for a while since I got it, which unfortunately brings me to another issue. I won't be returning this because I can't. What I'm going to do with it, who knows? It clearly isn't going to make it around my track, and the quality control still isn't up to par. Bottom line, this is another attempt to sell a patriotic train set to a collector, basically. Not really meant for an operator. If it is, I'd like to know how Lionel expects this thing to make it around a 20-inch curve if it can't even make it around a 22-inch curve. In short, avoid this thing. And as always, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'm sorry if this came out a bit on the crude side. I'd been trying for a while to get this thing filmed, but kept running into problems, and finally had to make lemonade out of what I had. Thanks again very much again for watching, and as always, keep the metal side down. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.